Professor Ntuli decried the manner in which President Ramaphosa's fight against corruption is undermined by his cabinet. Sharing his thoughts about the country's political landscape, Ntuli said he was concerned about the level of corruption in the country. He says art was instrumental in ending apartheid and can do the same with corruption.
I suffered. I've been in jail. I've also, sacrificed. That's what we wanted to do. But then we come to a situation where there are people who have got the power to loot the state, to get the money that they want. There's rampant corruption. There's all of the greed. We may be fighting here to keep our economic system. The president is fighting desperately to find, but the looting, the corruption still goes.
Ntuli says he's pleased to be honored in the art museum where he first displayed his work in South Africa. The professor had fled the oppressive apartheid system and returned after 33 years.
We must not forget that the majority of our people have historically been excluded in the critical processes and tasks assigned across the value on the development of this sector. More importantly, young people, women and people with disabilities. South Africans are known for not really understanding and honoring their own.
Speaking on the Fantuka of Living Legends Recognition Series, Minister Mthethwa said he hopes the initiative will give artists international exposure. Mbalenhle Mthethwa, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, now let's discuss this further. We are joined by the man of the hour himself, poet, author and recipient of Living Legends Award, Professor Pitika Ntuli. We'll also be joined by the minister a little later on. Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. It is an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me talking to you.
All right, now, before we get on to just some of the words and some of the sentiments that you uttered during this event, let's ask you how you're feeling about this latest award.
I feel extremely, excited because as an artist, me in particular, the work that I do is an expression of our history, our feelings, our thoughts, our ideas, and our psychology. That someone has got to look at it and recognize that what I'm doing is very useful, and then acknowledge what I do. It's very, very, very good. And I think that the step that the Minister of Arts, of Sports, Arts and Culture, Nati Mthethwa, has started a very good thing. This Fantuka of celebrating the artists and legends while they are still alive.
Now, Prof, just looking at the title itself, and you've just said it, Fantuka of Living Legends Recognition, a series. You yourself are a living legend and highly regarded in this country. Now, just recently we heard about the state of the nation. You've recently commented about corruption in the country. What are your thoughts, particularly the role of artists in this country to fight corruption?
I mean, artists everywhere have got to respond to their feelings, to their ideas, to their political and ideological perspective. And when an artist, be it a poet, a writer, a painter, a dancer, a story, teller, for me, one cannot actually prescribe, but whatever they do must be something that is there to actually enhance the nation, improve where they actually come from, and set better parameters for the future and for those people who are coming after them. In a time of corruption and greed, it is also the role of the artists to expose those things, not just only condemn, but also come up with suggestions of some solutions that could actually be undertaken in order to ameliorate whatever situation is confronting them.
As a South African citizen, Prof, and somebody with a global presence, but also somebody who's lived in this country for many years, you've also, been at the brunt of apartheid South Africa. When you look at the current state of our nation, particularly as it relates to corruption, what are your views and your thoughts about the state of the nation?
I mean, from the time when the Guptas arrived, even before the Guptas arrived, I keep repeating this thing almost ad nauseam, is that when we embarked on our independence on April the 27th, we had a very clear idea of where we are going to with the reconstruction and development program. Because it's very clear with that there was a lot of destruction for centuries, and apartheid was a crowning effect of that. So therefore, the issue of reconstruction should have then actually factored the entire issue of truth and reconciliation and follow it to its logic. Then we would have really understood that whatever we are going to reconstruct, it would have to involve the new people coming into power, the old people that are exactly into power, all the other institutions. Let us discuss the issues of what apartheid has actually done in order to be able to avoid it and not actually even to reverse it. So that's what it is. Then came up the Guptas, and how much money has been done, we'll find out, from the Zondo Commission, money that could have educated a number of people, built houses for people, ameliorated health services. Then we find ourselves, therefore, to a very large extent, being ruled by people that are greedy and corrupt, and whose monies are not serving anybody but simply themselves and their own families and friends.
Prof, just moving on to something also that you have also been speaking out a lot about, and that is just preserving our African heritage. Now, of course, just recently we are seeing that there are these questions and these talks about, preserving our African heritage versus national cohesions, etc. Where do you think the conversations should lie? We are confronted again by, for instance, examples of freedom fighting songs that mean one symbolic thing for one culture and completely something different for another culture. Where do you think we need to find common ground as South Africans?
That's precisely what I've said, that we aborted the Truth and Reconciliation. If at all we went through, then the issues of freedom songs and all, but also old Africana songs that they sang, and the songs that were very insulting to us and oppressive to us, which they still sing when they've got their own prize. Freedom songs are historical, they are cultural, and they are also political in the sense that they're expressing the sentiment of the people who have felt something and they're reacting to it. The song "Kill a Farmer, Kill a Boer, Kill a Farmer" arose out of the situation when farm workers were wantonly and brutally murdered, as it is the case, and they continue to be murdered even right now. But how then that song is going to be used? It's absolutely different. I can use it historically. Let's say I've got a play that during this time, this is what happened. These are the songs that we sang. And yesterday, when I was celebrated, I must have even mentioned some of the songs that could be very offensive, but they are in context of what was exactly happening, which cannot in any way be denied.
And now, Prof, obviously something that I would also have liked to ask the Minister of Arts and Culture, but perhaps let me pose this question to you. I mean, what we are currently seeing in schools, again, is that disconnect as it speaks to and relates to African cultures. I mean, a lot of questions being posed, especially around the legitimacy of the role of the Department of Arts and Culture in terms of just how their role and their mandate is in preserving of the heritage of this country. What are some of the things that you think could be done at schools, particularly as it relates to academia around African culture?
I mean that word of academia and culture, it involves not only the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, it's also the Department of Education itself that needs to take on board the issue of our culture, our languages. Of course, Art and Culture also, because they also controlled, pencil, then it is also their job to be doing that. The CRL Commission has got to ensure that the languages of the people and the cultures are preserved. The South African Human Rights Commission has got to protect also the rights of those individuals whose cultures are actually being challenged, suppressed, or neglected. So many government departments have got to be involved in this, not just only the question of arts and culture, but with arts and culture, what becomes more difficult is that the very ministers and even the highest people in there have got no clue or understanding what art really is, what art really means. It is always being looked down upon as a poor cousin of the other departments. Therefore, that also impinges on the officials and the minister that is in it. Also, when you look at in terms of budgeting, arts and culture get some of the lowest actually budgeting, yet we speak about social cohesion, nation building, proud of our own culture. There has got to be a change right up actually on top there to recognize all of these things, because in the end we'll end up condemning people who are doing the best that they can do to preserve that culture and leave free those people who are trying to prevent them from achieving what they need to achieve.
Prof, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and congratulations once again.
Thank you.